Hi, everybody. Chris Giles here with another Real Sales Talk. The Factory Real Sales Talk is a podcast about real people talking about what sales is all about, how it happens in their world, and how they can help us all to improve. The concept of what sales is all about is something we're all learning together. Today, we're going to try and teach you a little bit more about it. Today, we're blessed to have Will Richman from GrowthGenius joining us. I work with Rail both as a customer and a supplier. They help customers help find their customers. Will, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
No, that's exactly it. We help B2B companies get more sales meetings with their ideal customers.
Awesome.
And so we do that by crafting a list of folks that they want to reach out to, who they think they can help,
Yep.
and then crafting a message based on their pain points and value props,
Okay.
and help them achieve message market fit, so that all they're doing is picking up the phone and working with who they want to work with.
Wicked. I've had some experience myself, and it's worked out famously. And it made me realize that I thought Will would be a great person to have on this podcast, because that first contact that we have to go through is the most challenging one, isn't it?
It's a little tricky. Opening doors is, I think, what most salespeople struggle with. You have to get through nine no's to get to a yes, and so that was kind of a personal pain point in the last business, and I wanted to solve that for myself and other people.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. And so what, as you've gone through this process, your role there at the company is?
I'm the CEO and co-founder.
So you mentioned it came from a pain you experienced before. Tell us a little bit about the pain you experienced before and how you feel that GrowthGenius is helping to solve that.
Yeah. Severe insomnia was the pain in the last one. Ran a web development school in Toronto, and we help people, get jobs as programmers, knowing very little about programming when they start, and then placing them at the end of the day. But what kept me up at night from that whole experience, the whole 2.5-3 years that we were doing that, was getting more customers.
Yeah, the age-old problem.
There was no predictability. Just it was very seasonal. You really wouldn't know when your next bit of business was coming in.
Great.
And so I wanted to kind of really understand the mechanics of that process, and then solve that for other people in my network and social circle, and then kind of move outward.
Wicked.
From there.
Yeah, and I think as we all know out there, is Real Sales Talk. I mean, it's all about it. It's helping build your business, helping build your clients. It all starts with candidates, and it all starts with a reach out. Yeah. And the first reach out, which leads to hopefully the end purchase, really defines the future of our businesses. Awesome. Well, as you well know here on Real Sales Talk, we always start out with a few 5 discovery questions I'd like to ask you. Sure. And with those 5 discovery questions, we always find some information about the person. So tell us a positive word that you like.
Empower.
Empower.
I love to see when people can kind of do more than they thought they originally could. And so you put them in situations where you think that they're going to succeed, but they might not know they're going to succeed going into that situation. So they're always kind of edging a little bit bigger than they thought they would. And you empower them to make the best out of the situation.
Awesome. And so empowerment is something you try to deliver both to your employees, your friends, your family, and yourself.
Totally.
Empowerment's your word.
Totally.
Love it.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay. A negative word that you do not like, or for certainly don't live by.
It's a combination of can't or won't. I think it comes from a narrow perspective often. It's can't through the way that you understand the world.
Right.
So they're projecting you can't do that, but they're saying I can't do that, so you can't do that.
Yeah, it's funny. This is the third time the word can't's been used as a negative word.
Yeah.
In this podcast, the second, that for everybody out there, that word can't, we said it before, we'll say it here.
Yeah.
In the word can't is the word can.
Right.
So before you get to the T, just do the can and you'll be better off.
Right.
So I love it. So the empower and can't, or for that matter, can. Okay. A hero in your world, a hero in the world that you look up to.
Yeah. I just watched Inside Bill's Brain.
Yes.
And to see what that man is capable of, and to know that he's used his intellect for not just building one of the world's biggest software companies, but then solving some of the most pressing problems that humanity faces today, and then one of those being not just the malaria thing, but getting the richest folks in the world to donate most of their fortune I think it's great, to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars.
I watched it myself.
Yeah.
If anybody out there hasn't seen it, Inside Bill's Brain, is it on Netflix?
Yeah.
It's on Netflix. I believe it's called Inside Bill's Brain. If you haven't seen it, I recommend you watch it. If you're a younger person out there, an older person, everybody's going to gain from it. And I think what I loved about it too is just the simplicity of the way he operates it. In his way, he attacks the problem. He takes care of the identifying what the problems are, and then comes about finding solutions. I don't know if you saw the one about the toilet. I thought that was so interesting when they were trying to find the solutions to the toilet. And to me, it's the concept of, he's attacking business problems like we all do every other situation, just he's having a much greater impact on it. He's unbelievable. Blessed.
Totally.
Bill Gates.
Totally.
What's a dream of yours? What's a dream you'd like to accomplish?
Well, I'd like to get more folks comfortable in the situation that they're in.
Okay.
I know it's kind of a more modest goal, but a dream where folks are not success or happiness is not on the other side of success. I can see, like, I'm surrounded by a bunch of people that are in a deep pain because they're always trying to achieve more. Right. And they're not, and I'm guilty of this, is being in the present and contributing to the world around you, and not just trying to get to the next. So somewhat altruistic. You want to help people. You want to be on this planet. You want to make a difference. I just want people to get more, better quality of life. I think most people could kind of say that. It's just the magnitude of I love it. I love it. And have you been empowering that and doing that on a daily basis? Trying to. Yeah. It's tough. It's tough sometimes on a daily basis. Sometimes we look around and we get busy with stuff, but whenever we get back to focus on it, it makes a big difference. Wicked. Totally. What's a valuable business lesson you were taught? Maybe the person who taught it. Help others first. Help others first. You can see the net givers and the net takers, and I think the net givers are a lot better off, and that's because they kind of move in concentric circles, helping just anyone who's around them. They're much more strategic than I've just made it out to be, but just help others first. Yeah, I'm a firm believer. For me, it's the make a difference movement. Yeah. And it's the idea that not only do you make a difference for people, but it's also the idea of recognizing people that made a difference. And I think that comes from where you grew up probably. It was probably good lessons from home. And I think the whole idea is people often want for themselves. They don't realize that if you give, the karma has a way of giving back. Oh, totally. You are well taken care of by society. But the minute you are the only central figure in society doesn't like that too much. No, totally. No. And I don't know where it comes from. Where do you get it from? My mom. Yeah, my mom. Yeah, my mom was a social worker, and she was, I don't know how many Christmases we'd have children descend upon us at Christmas time. She worked in a group home that didn't have anywhere to go. The parents had called up at the last minute and said, "We're not going to pick up Billy or Jane," and then on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, we'd have people descending upon us. And I remember losing all of my Christmas presents to these 3 young kids. Me and my sisters all lost all of our Christmas presents. They all went to these kids that had just showed up on Christmas Day. And we were young, and I was confused, and I got a box wrapped with my father's dirty socks, not dirty socks, but they're actually clean socks, and that with a note explaining, "We will take care of this on Monday." Yeah. And that, to me, that note was really critical. That she, just in case I didn't understand, there was more to be had, but she recognized that we are so blessed, and if you feel like you're blessed, then you are blessed, and therefore you have to help others. And whether it's helping a person cross the street that needs it, or whether it's helping a person that has some sort of disease, or whether it's just helping a friend when you're in a conversation, maybe being in an ear that they can bend. It doesn't have to be always big deals. But you have to. Right. I always say you have to take down the mirror, put up a window. Right. If you've got the window, you can see everything that's going out there, and if you look at the right angle, you can see a reflection upon yourself. So My mother taught me that the other people were probably more important, and my father too, but my mother specifically, I would have to give some credit for. How about yourself? Actually, I was thinking about preparing for this interview a little bit, and why I admired my mother was because she's deeply unselfish. Yeah. I think it's partially probably when you have kids. I think all of a sudden you kind of you realize you're not the center of the universe. You're not even close. They are. I get it from the same place. Yeah, they are. I'm blessed. I have 2 beautiful boys, Connor and Dylan. I love you. But it is the reality of it. Once you have that child, your whole world becomes, the mirror's
the mirror is damaged, but there is always a rear view mirror that lets us see those two babies or whatever you've got. So cool. Yeah. So we talked about empower, which means that you want to give people power. It sounds like it. That's awesome. Yeah. Number 2, you talked about the word can't or won't. In other words, don't inflict upon me what you feel I cannot do, but allow me to do whatever I can do and help you to do it. Mm-hmm. Number 3, you talked about here in your word was Mr. Bill Gates, the guy who's for all intents and purposes probably allowed this podcast to take place. Let's be perfectly clear. Yeah, totally. All credit should be given to Bill. And a dream of yours is to help people become more effective in their worlds, to make them become better people. And you want to participate, whether it's in business or GrowthGenius or whether it's just showing up here today.
Totally.
Yeah,
totally.
Love it. And the valuable business lesson is the other person really deserves to be taken care of. Totally. Selfishness is not going to get you anywhere. Totally. Cool. Well, those are some really good traits, and those probably what's led you to business success. But let's get into some of the business stuff because that's personal. Cool. Tell me a great key lesson that you've learned in business that you'd like to share with the audience out there.
Yeah. This comes from Paul Graham of Y Combinator. Okay. He's also a Rhodes Scholar, and he's very accomplished in the startup world. And I came across one of his essays back in 2011, so the start of my career.
What was the essay, if you don't remember? Do you remember?
Do what you love.
Do what you love.
Do what you love. And I worked in finance, and I could. I'm not saying it was just this firm, but just the type of people I saw around me they were not in it because they loved it. I'm not saying that's true of everybody, but that article changed my life.
Okay.
It absolutely changed the trajectory of what I ended up doing, and I went into startups right after. I couldn't sleep. I basically, I would skip work. Yeah, I'm gonna get in trouble for this at some point, but that I think do what you love, because if people end up working or doing things because of sheer inertia or prestige or X, Y, and Z reason that's not their own, and they're not doing it for the intrinsic beauty of the thing that they're trying to do.
Yeah, and I think, there's people. I think people out there will struggle with do what you love. Listen, I can't say that I love every part of every day. No. I think that's fair. No, we're not asking you to be in love with the fact you got to do a cold call again, but do be in love with the end of that cold call. You will have a customer maybe you can have for a relationship for life. I certainly have some. Totally. Or for that matter, do what you love because you got to do it for your kids, and you got to do the right thing. And the right thing is to be a good corporate citizen, or for that matter, do the right thing for your family. And I think do what you love. I think in many ways, these articles you see on LinkedIn or these information systems that people are sharing, this one is a group, and I'll have to look it up myself, they help us all. Oh. Sometimes we get frustrated. So a key lesson you're saying is, if you're going to do, you must like what you're going to do. Otherwise, you may not do it.
Well, totally. And that's how you kind of give back. That's how you become selfless, is when you're in a state of flow and you're in a place of power. That's when you can kind of shift that to other people.
Yeah,
and
love it.
What are your thoughts on that one? What's your lesson?
Well, for me, the lesson that I've learned.
Yeah.
Well, I certainly it goes back to taking care of somebody else, making a difference for somebody. The whole idea of the make a difference movement for me is both business and pleasure, and so I'm 6'2", 225 pounds. I walk around the world. I'm a fairly large human, and I was put on this earth to sort of be a protector of sorts. If it was back in the Roman days, they would have told me to go out to the front. The bad guys are coming. Go stop them from coming. Yeah, and so I never felt it was ever possible for me to take advantage of people. Yeah. I never felt it was allowed that I would be able to monitor what I got, irregardless of what they received. I always wanted them to receive more than I got. Yeah. And I'm a giver versus taker. I would be on the giver side. And so the make a difference is I want to make a difference for the person or company or situation. And in turn, I find I get great results from it. And so it's similar to what you're saying. Oh. But for me, it actually comes at the end more so than what I did at the beginning. And so for me, it's funny whenever I face opposition when I try to consult with a new customer or whatever, and I'm very passionate and I'm trying to get them to listen to me, I will often say, listen, I'm just trying to make a difference for you. Why don't you let me get this out for you, and then maybe we'll see what happens. And you can just see them, whoa. And then from there, they're like, that's interesting.
The call changes completely is what you're saying.
Yeah, because they thought I was calling for them. And I always teach, whenever I'm teaching my sales lessons or teaching my team, it's like what they say is what you want to listen to, but what you say is really what you say is you have to make sure that they're hearing you.
Right.
So, and if they say something, you must listen. And so I always find that, especially in sales, back to real sales talk again, do what you love. You believe in your product. You believe in your thing. You can sell it more effectively.
Yep.
If you want to make a difference, then make a difference in your product and find out how that happens. So I think the lessons that we talk about, I've heard some great lessons on this, but I love how you relayed that back to probably those Y Combinator people have been responsible for a lot of change in our society.
Yeah.
And they're probably in a better spot of mind of what business could be like when it feels like it's successful.
Totally.
So maybe we should listen to them.
I think
Because sometimes we listen too many times to the negative. Like, they always say that the bleeding leads on press, like the negative press always gets so much more press. And I think that when we find people that are happy, Bill Gates or this gentleman, Mr. Graham, what was his name?
Paul Graham,
that we need to be able to, there might be somebody out there right now in grade 11 that's watching this podcast that might be able to find a way to become the new Paul Graham. And we want you to do that, or the new Bill Gates.
Yeah. Oh yeah, your own version of
please, must be.
Yeah.
So in terms of, and as you've gone through your career, you talked about finance, you've been your own boss. What did the best manager ever do for you? And what would you give advice to people to do? What was the thing that made a difference from the best manager?
Yeah, well, I haven't actually been employed by someone else for a good part of a decade. And, almost, I don't think I'm a great manager, but in managing myself, I realized that most of the lessons, I have to go and find and seek. And I think if I could say, you have to go seek the answers. You can't almost have a manager tell you what to do. And especially, seeing where the world's going, there are less and less rules to kind of hard and fast rules to live by. So
it seems like,
got to find your own way of things.
I like it. Okay, so just to paraphrase that, because many of the people out there have a manager, so they have to follow. They seem to think they have to follow the person, male, female, whatever it is. They got to follow Jane or Jim. I got to do whatever they say. And I think you would agree with me as an owner. I'm the same. If you have a better idea, we need to hear it. If you've got something you'd like to add, we'd love to hear it. And the idea of, for me, the biggest thing I like as a manager is the concept of it's not his job to manage me. It's his job or her job to manage the situation, and I've got to manage myself within that.
Right. Yeah. They're trying to manage a system.
Correct.
A group of people to achieve some sort of outcome for them, for their group and the neighboring groups. Yeah. It's
funny. I had a conversation with one of my employees a while ago, and I said, listen, I can't worry about you.
Yeah.
I have to worry about it. It is the company, and you are part of that. And it's not that I don't care about you, but I have to worry about the it in order for all of us to be able to exist.
Totally.
And I think it's important that we talk about this in terms of what can we learn from different people and how can we learn it. Okay, what did you find helpful in dealing with objections in life?
That you can overcome them because they come from a gap in, either they're a legitimate objection, which you should respect.
Yep.
More often than not, there's maybe a gap in their understanding as it pertains to the situation that you're talking about.
Right.
So it might be a very legitimate objection, which you should explore deeper.
Yep.
But at the same time, it could be you need to ask a clarifying question to say, is the objection, you don't believe this is a fit because I haven't shown you the solution in the right context. So what's the real reason for the objection?
Cool. I understand. Yeah, it's funny. People fear the objection, and I think the objection is the opportunity.
Totally.
Because if they just say, I always find that the easy come, easy go is really a big danger in sales. People don't realize that.
Right.
In fact, I always say to my team, and they're like, oh, I had a great conversation. I'm like, hang on a second. Wait till that money shows up and then we'll talk about it.
Right.
Because if we don't talk about this, if we talk about every time we have a conversation as being a positive, we have to talk about every time we have money. Yeah. And the money often happens after the objections. So I always love it when a customer puts an objection in front of me, and even multiple objections. I don't want to buy your product. That's interesting. Why would you say that?
Right.
What did I do wrong?
Right.
But they don't say that. They usually give you a little bit more clues. But I feel that the objections, I always found, the question was, what tips do you find helpful? I always find the fact that I said what I said, and I think you said it the same way, is don't fear it. Expect it.
They're present. They're present.
They're omnipresent. Yeah.
Because if they're not in front of you and they're not going to give you that present, they're gonna take that objection and they're gonna kind of talk amongst their group, and you're never going to be able to get in front of it. Yeah.
It's funny. It's funny whenever I'm talking to people, I would say, what frightens you? What part of this frightens me? And I say that because people often are quite worried about using the word frightened.
Right.
And they're like, I'm not frightened. I'm fine. I'm not frightened. And I say, well, I don't mean like you're scared of this, but obviously there's trepidation in what we're going through here because this will be a change and you've got to put your neck out there because I'm going to say that you should do this and you may or not have should done that, or there's all this messaging that could put you into specific trouble making this decision. But I said, let's talk about everything, because in the end, if I can help you to better explain it to somebody else, or for that matter, to facilitate a better decision, off we go.
Totally.
So the same as what you're saying. Love it. And with your business, the objections would be, what would the objections and how do you deal with them?
Yeah. Price is one.
Okay.
And that's usually because you haven't justified or explained the ROI.
Okay.
So, you have no problem paying $100,000 for something if you're going to get $1 million back. So price is really kind of around ROI.
Yeah.
If it's, I'm satisfied with my current solution. Well, do you understand both solutions well?
Yeah.
And could you be more satisfied with this solution? Is there not a chance that there could be a better solution out there?
Cost benefit analysis, all the different things go along, right? Yeah, cool. Yeah. Awesome. How have you improved your selling skills and that of your team? What techniques and tips have you done? Because that's something, I think it's a practice makes perfect thing in sales. And so tell me some ideas that you've done and tips out there that maybe they can use to try and make their process more effective.
Yeah, definitely. And I think practice is the key thing there. It's reps. But it's frameworks and reps, I find.
Okay.
We talked about a lot of psychology, the basic psychology. Is it education? Is it entertainment?
Yeah.
But you talked about it being assistance. If you have those kind of basic frameworks, I think that's really important. But then it's practice.
Cool.
There's one framework I use all the time. Robert Cialdini wrote a professor down south. He wrote this book called Influence. The principles of persuasion.
Okay.
And there's a really kind of basic acronym that I use to try and remember what I find very helpful. CLASS, CLASS, and I'll go through it quickly.
Yeah.
So it's reciprocity, commitment and consistency, liking, authority, social proof, and scarcity.
Love it. Yeah.
And so there are
influencing tactics.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
So common.
And so bringing those together is really the tactic. It helps to bring the tactics. So we talked about it. We talked prior to the podcast. Of course, we're both sales, I guess, people of great interest in sales. I was going to say sales gurus, but I'm not even close to saying that.
Sales geeks.
Sales geeks. Sales something. Anyways, you're right.
Totally.
And so the concept of I got to be careful with sales gurus. Somebody out there will get us. It's the concept of I said it was strategic planning. And what you just talked about is that all of these factors have to be at play. And I think it's funny that that in today's age, while it's improving sales, it is still probably the most challenging situation. Without sales, there's no business.
Totally.
And with the correct number of sales and the correct sales done at the correct thing for the thing, all of a sudden we have success.
Yeah.
Most other parts of the business can follow sales. And so therefore I loved what you said, and you said framework.
And practice.
Yeah, because the framework is something that I think people need to really realize that create structure for your team.
Totally.
Create some function, support them, give them all the necessary tools, explain how to use them, I think is critical. Totally. And I think in my mind, that's an area of opportunity that can even be improved, especially with the tools these days. A product like yours, for example, can really help a company.
And you were talking about Vidyard earlier.
Yeah, Vidyard's another great tool. Love Calendly.
What other tools are in your tool?
Well, we're using things to determine Bitly. We've built some actually even further upgrades into Chrome that allows us to gather information from different things. We use Hunter to be able to find email addresses, and more importantly, I think it's the idea that what we're doing is we're we're not trying to burden the customer with a whole bunch of technology. Right. I think they're overwhelmed at times. I think what we're trying to do is use technology to create the right impression. For example, I was saying earlier, I sent a message to a customer today with a Vidyard and included my Calendly, and also we use another product called Lead Forensics that tells us whether the customer has been to our website. So by virtue of all these things, I was able to know that that person had seen my Vidyard and then went to my website. That didn't exist 5 years ago.
No.
Not even close.
No,
I would call...
It's almost creepy.
It's a bit...
How much information that is. It's almost insane. You know?
It's pretty weird that I know what this gentleman's doing.
Yeah,
I called this gentleman. I might as well have called him and said, listen, I'm almost felt like saying, listen, what'd you think of our website? And I didn't dare, but...
How did you break the ice? How did you kind of...
With that particular conversation? Yeah. Well, I looked at their situation. In that case, I'm looking to provide them both recruiting and the training services that we provide. They're a growing team. It's a technology company. They could use some help. And I said, I'm of a similar mindset. I'm an entrepreneur myself. Yeah. And I believe in many ways what I think we can provide for you here is, at the very least, a conversation that allows us to explore the resources that we have and how they may be able to help and develop your company to become more effective. At the very least, let's have a conversation, share in our information, and see what it brings. Yeah. So there's the reciprocity is there in the sense that we're similarities. I have clear communication and a concise detail of exactly what my goal is. Not to. Right. I'm hoping you're going to pay my mortgage off. Right. My goal is that we can have a conversation and see if we can help each other. Mm-hmm. And then in the end, the scarcity or all the different things. You're going back to your class and scarcity, what you talked about. It's like I'm trying to make him aware that I'm here to help him. I'm supporting him. Right. My goal is his goal, right, not my goal.
And when you win, I win.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's what sales is. And what's weird is that first initial contact, we face so much resistance. One of my salespeople is often making calls and gets hung up on or very abruptly treated, and is always it's strange when that happens. I'm always flabbergasted about that. I always wonder, does your company not have salespeople?
Right.
It's funny, myself, I don't know how you go through life, right, but I don't generally try and get too mean with salespeople for one particular reason, because I figure it's coming back at me one day.
Totally.
Do you feel the same way?
Oh, totally. It's karma.
Oh, yeah.
And you can't just go around angering salespeople. It's going to come right back around for sure.
I often get calls for people for financial planning or whatever, and I have a great financial planner. And so I often listen to them. I say, listen, I really appreciate it, but the guy's my financial planner is my buddy of mine, and I couldn't possibly face him at the holidays and tell him I didn't give him the business. And they're always like, thanks for taking my call. And I'm like, no problem. I just wanted you to know. Or we just got our windows replaced. We don't need them cleaned, or this and that. Right. And always being respectful. And I think it's critical. You should be respectful out there to your salespeople, and be respectful to salespeople that call in. If they don't do a good job, tell them they don't do a good job by telling them what you'd like to hear from them and helping them. But if not, try and help them.
Totally. Give them a bit of feedback so that they do better next time.
Yeah. And I think every salesperson out there has an obligation to try and make a difference for a customer. Totally. So make sure you're respectful to everybody out there. Perfect. That's maybe our lesson for this one. What's the way that Will sells? When you're out there selling GrowthGenius and you're talking to a customer, how do you look at that process when you're talking to a customer? What is it? You're trying to deliver as fast as possible, get out of there? What's your goal?
Brutally honest.
Yeah.
Brutally honest. If I believe, if I work through the numbers and figure out if I can help you, then I shouldn't stop until you've upgraded or you've traded up. Yeah. And so, as long as it's governed by math and psychology. Yeah. And as soon as I figure out what that is and the way that, if I can help you with a reasonably high probability, then I'm going to keep talking to you until you really say no, right, or have a legitimate reason to not work together.
Yeah, I think and I felt that when I dealt with your company. It was funny when your salespeople followed that line of thinking, and I really enjoyed it. And I've enjoyed dealing with your product as well because it's helpful. I mean, it just means that I have one more resource working on help build my business.
Totally.
Yeah. So I think people are always worried about losing that, because that's one thing with us and you we're very similar. Me on the recruiting, on the training, they're always worried that I'm going to give them the wrong information. I'm going to say it I'm not going to represent them well enough. And you're the same. Right. If you don't go out there and represent them well enough, it's a problem.
Well, if you spent enough time together, and you kind of deeply understood that problem set and the language that you're comfortable with using and the tone, then you should be okay. And I'm sure you do a deep dive with your folks.
Yeah. Trying to help. I mean, it goes back to philosophically, we're just trying to help people, right?
Yeah, totally.
It just happens that we have to come through that front door, and that front door is usually met with a little bit of confrontation. So we just manage through that effectively.
Totally.
Cool. How do you feel, you talked about it, you've been 10 years now as an entrepreneur, and 10 years I would describe it in the technology sector. How do you feel communication has changed in sales over the last 10 years?
Yeah. I would say it's become, I was looking for a term, and this might be a crass term, but Tinderized. It's becoming a little faster, a little quicker. There's more information, more transparent out there, for better or worse. It's a quick game.
Yeah, you swipe left or swipe right. You're hoping they swipe. I've never been a part of Tinder, so is it swipe right for good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I've never done Tinder, so swipe right is good. So we're hoping to get swiped right. I haven't been on Tinder in my life.
For good reason.
Yeah, I've been married for a while. So it's interesting. So you feel that now in sales, that there's a potential that if you don't get them right away, in other words, right when they're looking at you, you may lose them.
Well, there's a lot of very good vendors out there.
Yeah.
And you're competing, whether you know it or not, either against the status quo or 3 to 10 other ways of doing that thing. And time is of the essence, because time kills all deals.
Yeah.
I'm sure you probably know who.
I love that statement.
Said that, but
who said that? I don't ever heard.
I don't know.
Okay, I don't know. Time kills all deals. I'll have to look that up.
I feel like it's a saying that.
Well, to me, I live by carpe diem. You've probably seen my videos. Yes. I'm carpe diem. So to me, it's like let's just get this going, and we're starting a friendship today.
Yeah. So
I want to look that up. Time kills all deals.
I thought it was.
I'm gonna look it up.
It was a common thing.
I love it. Yeah, I think it's it's probably just a statement that people make, but somebody said it maybe. Kills all deals.
Well, it's never been easier to start a company, right, these days, and there are more. It seems like there's more companies than ever, and if you're not going to be moving that sale along, they're going to make a decision with or without you.
Yeah, no, it's funny. There's lots of statements about it. Nobody specifically has owned that. I guess it's so simple.
Okay.
But it is probably somebody who said it at some point in time at some meeting that was like, whoa. And for me, I'm beyond impatient. I'm sure you are as well. Yeah. It's part of being a business owner.
Yeah, interesting.
And it's funny. And in terms of the vision of your future, what do you see for the vision for GrowthGenius? Where do you see it going?
Well, and that's a good question. And there could be many forms of this, but I would like to, in a kind of pure sense, help people trade up as much as possible,
Wonderful.
As quickly as possible.
Good.
But without being, I say that, but there's a transactional nature of it. I think you can do that while building good relationships, long-term relationships, and great experiences. Like, you're a man of experiences, from the time we kind of rode in here to seeing every room in the fort, in this space. It's an incredible experience. So.
Yeah. It's interesting. I'm a firm believer that this planet thing is going to end here at some point in time. And I want to make sure I make the most of it. That's where the carpe diem, like I'm trying to rock and roll it as much as possible. Working hard, playing hard, that kind of stuff. Cool.
Oh, totally.
As far as, I always ask this question, it seems to create some different things. What's a word you would use to describe your customers?
I want them to win.
Okay.
So win might be the
winners.
word. Yeah,
winners. Yeah.
And I think you want to play and work with the best.
Yeah.
And it's really nice when you can learn a lot from your customers and vice versa, when it's a symbiotic relationship.
Perfect.
So yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that one?
That's a great. I mean, for me, I've never been asked the question back, but I think winners is exactly that. I specifically came to the factory back from selling my last business because I wanted to come back and help people. Yep. So if I was to look at my life as a series of events that happened, I'm probably blessed to be here for many different reasons because people wanted me to win. They helped me. I've been blessed. I've been selling now for 35 years, either my own business or, for that matter, working. And I have relationships that are so tender and so strong, and they're friends. So I think I would say winners would be a part of what I want to have happen for them, but I would probably say friends. And so I look at a customer as a potential friendship, as a potential relationship that I can develop, as a potential where I can add to the world, make it better for them, their family, their future, financially, all of those different things. In fact, if I don't do all those different things, I'm not only disappointed in myself, I'm expecting disappointment from that customer. Right. And I've been in trouble, and I've let people down. I remember some of the times I've let people down, and I've had to explain. But I can tell you, my heart, and they know it pretty well when they talk to me that was a problem or objection, and I'm going to deal with it, and we're going to get back on the train and get back on the tracks because, I want to be your friend. In fact, in many ways, I apologize for cutting you off, but I would often say to a customer today that I would say that the reality of it is that I'm going to build a friendship from this relationship. We're just getting to know each other today. And that's how I start my sales calls.
Right.
Yeah. It's just weird.
Well, that's a good mindset to be in.
That's how I look at it.
This person is a future friend. Yeah. And this person I can deeply help. Well, you don't always know that, but you have a good.
You'd want to.
Yeah. If those are the aims, that's the goal.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah. Awesome. It's great so far. Thank you so much. Give us a lesson that you've learned in life. Let's talk about a lesson maybe you learned from your family, and then we'll talk about a lesson professionally. That'd be something you can share out there.
I think, so let's say personally.
Personally, and then we'll go to professionally.
Yeah. With personally, and this is something I have a bit of a tough time with, but whenever I can catch myself, it's being present.
Okay.
It's too often folks live in the future or the past.
Yeah.
And all you have is this moment right here.
Yeah.
And if you're living outside that moment,
what if this happened? This could happen.
Totally. Yeah. And there's an evolutionary perspective or reason for that, I'm sure.
Yeah, there is.
You're replaying moments in the past, or you're thinking you're trying to project the future so you can change the way that things might turn out. But if you can catch yourself and live in the present.
Love it. Yeah, I think that's a fantastic one. That carpe diem.
Totally.
Carpe diem. And so that's your personal. What about the professional lesson?
That one's a little trickier. On the professional side, I think we've gone through a lot of the basics. Do what you love. Yeah. Help first.
Okay.
But I think being a ferocious learner is interesting because you're upgrading your operating system, and I think one of the best two operating systems I've seen kind of manifest them in books. Ray Dalio's principles. So Ray Dalio runs the largest hedge fund in the world.
Okay.
150 billion or so, give or take.
Yeah, but a couple shekels.
Well, the guys had to put together 1,000-person thinking machine that is like incredibly calculated. And it's just the whole fabric of his company is built off of these principles, and he indoctrinates every person at his company with this book or this set of principles, and then they all have a better operating system, which to make decisions by.
Awesome. Yeah. At the end of the podcast, in the podcast notes, we'll have all the books that we've talked about here today as little side notes so people can pick them up, which these are fantastic. Those are two great lessons there. Well, in the moment, and then follow principles, right? And stay in the moment and make sure you stay attention to your detail.
Is it fair to say carpe diem is yours?
It's what I roll with.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what's wrong with me or what's right with me, but I'm wired to go at my own pace. I'm wired to help. I'm wired to be a leader, and so the carpe diem means seize the day, seize the moment, explore as much as possible. It's kind of how I live my life, and the professional lesson is definitely make a difference. Those are my two foundations. If I had to go beyond that, I would definitely say that I think open-minded is really critical. I live with, I have in my family, for example, I mentioned my family. I have my one son, Dylan, who's my younger son. He's kind of like, we've used a DISC profile in all of our different things I've ever done for hiring, or I'll get into that in a second. But so the DISC profile, we have all four elements of the DISC profile in our family. I'm the dominant. My son, Dylan, is the influencer. My wife is the steadiness, which is the accountant, and my son is the conscientious, which is the programmer. So in my little world, in my beautiful little world where I live with them, they're now, some are growing up and gone to university, but we had all 4 dimensions of all 4 people. So 4 different behaviors. We'd have me, come on, get in the car, hurry up as fast as possible. We'd have one person going, what if this, what if that? Yeah. And we'd have another person trying to encourage, another person sort of stalling, and we had all kinds of behaviors going on. But in the end, we all added. It was such a beautiful mix. It still is today. And so what I can get from Connor and his wonderful level of intelligence, or what I get from my wife, is so different. They're so different, these 2 people. Right. But they're more similar than, let's say, Dylan and I are more similar over here. And then Dylan, all of a sudden, and Lisa are more similar. So it made me realize that I am a small speck in a huge beach of sand in this world.
Right.
And I'd better keep that in perspective.
Right.
And despite the fact that I want to have confidence in myself and I want to have clarity in my vision and clarity in what I want to accomplish, and carpe diem is important and make a difference, it is remaining the fact that you are a small human.
Tiny speck. You watch a space documentary and all of a sudden you just realize
there's not much going on here.
No, you're small. You're
nothing.
We're a tiny speck on a ball that's moving through an infinitely large space. Yeah. And you just look up and you're like, what is going on?
Exactly. Jump on one of those planes one day and you're like, whoa. So I think that's why this real sales talk is so interesting, because everything I've heard you say today pretty much goes back to empower and can't. You found, even if it sounds like you read some of these books because you couldn't figure out what to do. No. You were looking for more information. Oh, totally. I'm like, I probably could use a bit more clarity here on this. Right. Let me see if I can find it. Boom, I'll go on the internet, find a book, I'll read the book.
It's beautiful.
Are you reading the book hardcover, or are you reading the book on the new technological Kobos or iPad?
Hardcover when I can.
Hardcover when you can.
I think there's something intangible about, or I guess tangible.
Yeah, it's tangible.
Right? It's tangible by seeing that book on the shelf, and like your symbols, you surround yourself with. Yeah. Seeing that bookshelf, you can instantly put yourself back into the stories and lessons you've learned.
Love it. Yeah, one of my favorite guys is Richard Branson.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Richard Branson because I've actually been following him since I remember hearing about him when I went on my first trip to university. After university, I went on a trip. Backpacking.
Oh, totally.
And I went and visited my cousin who was already working, and he was about 5 years ahead of me, and he gave me a Richard Branson book that I read on the trip that I was on. And here I was, of course, in Amsterdam and different places, having the time of my life. And every once in a while I'd pick up this book and it would journey me to some place where I am today. I felt like it took me to where I am today. Then, even though I had no chance to actually get here, it made me realize that the potential I had was massive. That grain of sand could be whatever I wanted.
Right. It gave you a glimpse into the future of what life could be, or how you could think about things.
Still have the book, actually. That was about 30 years ago. I like that. I should probably get that book out. It's good. Cool. Tell us about a person you admire in your family.
I think we touched on it earlier. Yeah. It was it's my mom.
Is it mom? Okay.
Yep. Deeply unselfish.
Okay.
To a point where I can see it hurts. Okay. I can see it's a little bit, to an extreme.
Yeah.
But I wish and I hope that I get to that point. I think.
What's mom's name?
Maureen or Reenie.
Reenie?
Yeah.
Well, Reenie, you've done a good job, I guess.
Yeah. No, she's great. And eventually we'll get to that point, but I don't think.
Yeah, it's coming for you. My mom is Kathleen, and I've been able to now reciprocate back, and I think you'll have the same opportunity, especially with your attitude. Yeah. And it's important. I ask that because sometimes your mom will watch this. Right. And your family will watch this, and you want to be able to get that message out. Is there anybody else there in your career that there's some people along my way that took me for a ride or made this journey better? Is there anybody else out there that you'd say, wow, this person made a difference in what they do?
Yeah, totally. I mean, a lot of the folks that I look up to, and they're usually from afar.
Okay.
But I've been blessed and very fortunate to work with some very driven, ambitious, selfless, folks. Just in the startup ecosystem, we're all idealists. We're all think that the world can be a better place, and so a lot of business partners that have been good and opened my eyes.
Cool. Yeah, it's funny. Your office is down at the 111 facility where there's so much new technology happening there, and I guess what happens in that building is people either develop and grow, or for that matter, they might fall away. Yeah,
for sure.
Exactly. And when you walk around that building, what are some of the messages or what are the things you're noting or people are doing differently around there? I know when I was there the other day, I saw big whiteboards and stuff like that. What are people doing without giving away specific information about people? What are they doing to try and make a difference with this altruistic thought pattern here?
Well, they're thinking bigger. The scale with software is infinitely large. Okay. As soon as you've written the application and you've pushed that code to the internet, it's accessible and available to everyone. Yeah. So it's as soon as you can think it, your improvement now exists and will be pushed to everyone that uses that platform. Yeah. And I think software has a very kind of humbling effect and very it really propels good ideas and the right thoughts. So I think they're all thinking bigger. Yeah. They're more aggressive with their fundraising, their recruiting, the way that they go to market. And I've been very lucky to sit and talk to a lot of these guys that have built and sold big meaningful companies, and the way that they think is they attack the problems more aggressively. They've seen a lot of the plays. A lot
more tenacious, yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's I thought I was attacking life quite aggressively in a good way.
Yeah.
But I meet someone like you, and I know that there's a lot more to go.
Oh, I'm looking at other people too. I mean, I look at Bill Gates, and I'm always stupefied that guy's only got 24 hours a day. What am I doing with mine? Right. Holy moly, did I ever waste it? Well, and I look at the. It's funny, when I went down to 111, I've been down there a bunch of times, and I love what you describe as an incubator. That's a new phenomenon. Back when I started my business career, it was there was walls and bricks and buildings surrounding things. You couldn't get in the door.
Right.
Nobody shared anything.
You just keep everyone out.
Oh, everybody out.
Siloing the information.
And now they're sharing. Now they're helping each other.
Totally. There's all these meetup groups where you can kind of go and break bread with folks that are in your situation, going through your same challenges. And maybe they're a couple steps ahead of you. Yeah,
I'm actually doing one of our speaks down there in February to talk about how to make a difference for your customer, and it's funny how much that they're embracing that concept of they'll do anything they can to learn. That's where I think it's really that goes back to, I think it's the incubator goes back to that child or that trying to develop something, and in the incubator of life that we have is often surrounded by our friends and family, and that's pretty much where we pull. You can't go talk to a stranger on a bus about your problems. It'd be a bit weird. They might be receptive, but they may not. Yeah,
exactly.
They may not be receptive. But everybody's in the same boat, and there's thousands of them just all working hard. It's awesome.
Totally.
What would you recommend? It's funny. I have young staff. You mentioned that you're 10 years out of working for anybody. What would you recommend? You hire people. You're seeing all these things. What do you recommend to young people out there as they're starting their career? Because they're the ones who need the most help.
Yeah. Oh, totally. I would try a lot of things.
Okay.
I would try a lot of things. I think I've been. Much more well-rounded, and when you have a diverse set of experiences, you can attack a problem from a variety of experiences, and I think your contributions to an organization are much greater.
Yeah.
Eventually, find what you are good at, you're uniquely good at, and surround yourself. But I think a lot of people give up the chase of finding what they might deeply love too early. They settle in. And I don't, and I think it's just I'm projecting, but I have something deeply wrong with settling, given what we have accessible or available to us today.
Yeah.
You don't really have to settle, and you're kind of doing yourself and the people around you a disservice by settling. The hard part is to know when you're settling or when
it's the right decision. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
And I think most people I have on the podcast, for the most part, are willing to challenge themselves.
Totally,
they're willing to face the opposition head on. We talked about the obstacles. The opposition can come in any forms, personal and professional. We're like, yep, I understand it, expected it. Here I am. Mm-hmm. And I think the young people need to understand that. I think the settling is a very good point. I mean, I met some of your staff. I've had my own staff, and I think it's really important as a manager out there, or if you're a young person out there, that you take advantage of the opportunity the young person provides you to do the best you can for them. If you're a manager, do everything you can for them to try and help them and be that mentor that they talk back.
Totally.
I hope I've been that for some people, and I want to be it for more.
It's perfect.
And if you're the young person, which I of course have 2 young men in my world, then I agree. Explore. Take the Christopher Columbus route that says that you're willing to go across that ocean to see what's there.
Totally. A deep interest in anything is great.
Yeah. Another thing I always like them to do, and I think this is critical, is build their LinkedIn profile, build their network of people, social media, but also in person. You talked about some groups. I think that's an important. Not only do it on the social media platform, but to speak to some people as well.
It's never been easier to disseminate good ideas. So and contribute to that, online community around you.
Yeah.
And LinkedIn is probably the best place.
I think for business. Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah.
That's great advice.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things I always like to, whenever we're doing this, the whole idea is that I'm only thinking in my mind, whoever's watching this, what can we give them as tips?
Right.
What can I do? I want to just, before we move on to the make a difference part and wrap it up, tell me a little bit as you're forming the copy and you're building the messaging and the framework for your customers, just to help people understand how GrowthGenius works. In your mind, you're trying to create an impression of the customer's product that's going to express it effectively and help them to be able to establish that first meeting and then take that journey from there. Is that correct?
Totally.
Is there keywords that come up all the time? Is there key things that you're using? Is there something in there that's philosophically or strategically being used, or is it developed per customer?
A bit of both. But it's usually built off like a data-driven hook.
Okay.
So there's a key piece of information about your prospects that leads you to believe that you can help that person.
Got it.
So you're never opening a conversation cold. It's never, even though it sounds like it's cold email or cold outreach, there's a particular reason you're reaching out to that person in the data. And it kind of comes back to this trading up thing. Everyone is looking to improve their situation and the situation of the people around them.
Yep.
And so if you give them an easier path to do that, that's a great way to open the door.
Yep, perfect. So you're trying to, when you open that door, you're literally trying to open the door with, look what I have, look at how I can help you.
Yeah, well, I've taken particular note about your business,
okay.
and there's something I've noticed about your business that I really like, and here's how I can use that to help you even more.
Awesome. That's the kind of stuff, if you notice the passion, even in your, I watched as you said that, Will, it's the passion. And I think that's the most important thing that I've noticed here today as we've spoken about Real Sales Talk, is that the fact that you believe, first and foremost, that you're following and looking for guidance at all times.
Totally.
You're providing it, looking for it, and following it. Look, it doesn't matter what stage you are or what position you are in the company, please keep searching.
Yeah.
Please keep searching.
Totally.
Cool. As we move into this make a difference moment here part, these are the things that I think are somewhat critical. Who's a person that's made a difference for you in your world, either personally or professionally? You can do both if you wish. This is a chance for you to give them a shout out here and to tell them who they are and what they did.
Yeah, I mean, this is cliche, and it's kind of been a theme of this chat. But I think the parents have instilled fairly good morals. I know I can always improve, and I've got a lot to learn. But I want to thank my parents deeply for, sorting me out and trying to instill a good work ethic and good values when they can. Yeah, not everything sunk. But
that's all right.
I'm working on it.
Yeah, it's good. I love it. So the parents, and often for anybody, any new parents out there, it's probably the best opportunity for. I think any of the parents would probably agree that they became better by helping you. I think the best way to teach people, the best way to become better is to teach people what to do. And I think they are probably better people by virtue of yourself and helping you get through life. So I'm sure they feel blessed to have you as well. What is something that you're doing to make a difference personally, and maybe something that GrowthGenius is doing in your worlds as well? That'd be great to know.
Yeah, definitely. Personally, so the DMZ, Digital Media Zone out of Ryerson, was an incredible part of our success. And so just giving back to the volunteering for the folks that are building their companies. They're 5 people or less often, but it's just paying it forward to the folks that you've just gone through that situation.
Got it.
And
helping other entrepreneurs.
Totally.
Yeah, love it.
And then on the GrowthGenius side, it's just encouraging. We do these passion days where you get to devote the day to whatever cause or thought, however you want to spend that day. Love it. Sometimes it's a personal project, but sometimes it's a cause. People will go help out. So It's like once a month or once every 2 months.
I love it. I love it. Passion Days. That's a great one. That's a good one for people to learn out there. If you empower your people to do something that they believe in for the benefit of themselves and the company, based around the framework around the company, it becomes a better company.
Totally.
It's that simple.
And it's a cause that they deeply care about.
Yeah.
I can't always pick the cause that they should care about. It's harder to.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. Wonderful idea. What is something that you would recommend? I mean, myself, we've talked about some things. What are some of the things that you'd recommend to people out there to make a difference, especially the young people as they go forward in their career? You've talked about being an entrepreneur, everything. What can they do in their business world to make a difference for others, specifically just in the business world?
Yeah. Well, it's volunteer and donate. I mean, volunteer if you have more time than money.
Okay.
Right. And because that will come back to you. And professionally, I think it's the reciprocity thing at work. Donate if you have, you donate your Ferrari in a way that doesn't cost you like terribly amount. It's like where people can trade up where it doesn't.
Yeah, you use your assets you have around you, whether it's your brain, whether it's your time, whether it's your resources, and absolutely, I think you have to. I think you talked about it. You've said it all the way through this whole theme that you believe in this world today. You believe in this world. You love all the stuff, that information is available, the technology and all that stuff. And so use it to your advantage to help others.
And I feel you feel the same.
100%. 100%. This is a remarkable time we're living in.
Oh, yeah.
There's the millennials they talk about, or I'm 54. I don't think this. I'd be willing to sit down with a millennial in a heartbeat and be able to have a wonderful conversation with them. It doesn't matter how young or old they are. It matters what they bring to the world. In fact, I was just away with a beautiful, beautiful young man, Noah, and he was so kind and so helpful. We were up at my chalet skiing, and I have a bunch of extra snowboards, and I let him borrow the snowboard. And I have extra snowboards. I've bought so many over the years. And so when he left, he was like super appreciative and brought me a nice little gift and said thank you. It was just and throughout the whole process, everywhere we were loading the vehicle, he was always helping. And so I was it, no problem, thank you, gave me the snowboard back, and I went back up again to go skiing, and I looked at the snowboard, I'm like, I don't feel like I own that anymore.
Oh, wow.
I feel like that's Noah's snowboard. Now, this was an extra snowboard that I had, so it wasn't like I gave my snowboard away. But this snowboard sat there for probably 2 years, and I've used it once in a while intermittently because I want to try it differently. Yep. But I brought it back, and I gave it to him. And initially the words were he wasn't going to receive it because he didn't want to. And I said, no, you let him know he earned that. Yeah, he's not receiving a gift. He earned this.
Well, he'll never forget that.
No. And so he asked me, what can I do to repay this, Chris? Let me give you, I know you won't accept money because you would have offered to buy it at that point in time. Yep. What can I do? I said, well, I need you to do the following. I need you to call your parents and tell them you love them. He goes, I'm standing beside him. I'll tell them now. He was actually at his parents' house, he tells me. Right. And I said, I need you to do 3 good deeds for strangers, complete strangers of any type, of any form. You don't have to inform me when they're done. You can let me know. And his response was, I'll do 10. So in my mind, what I gave him was a board. What I might have done was change somebody's life. Who knows where he's going to impact it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you picked the right guy.
He's a dude.
You picked the right guy.
He's a dude. So I think that's what I think this world is all about, is that I employed my sales tactics there when I gave him the board because they were not going to receive it. I received a lot of objections from his girlfriend and the other guy who's my buddy of mine. Oh, no. I'm like, listen, just give it to him. If I have to get it returned back, you tell him he has to return it back to me, and I won't accept it. Wow. So it became obvious that the objections were going to be met with more objections.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah, and I think that young man's behavior or your behavior or my behavior of making a difference in the world, we have to put the other person first. Have to. So it's been awesome having you here. It's been a wonderful 50 minutes of us talking as we've gone through this process. And GrowthGenius is a great company that I think is going to do a phenomenal job of helping customers to engage their customers. If you're looking to try and build your business out there, to try and touch new customers and create an opportunity to attach yourself to new opportunities, reach out to Will and the team at GrowthGenius. Discover what they're doing. If you don't understand completely, that it's the simple idea of they take that first initial contact and using technology, process, planning, strategy, and framework to build you an opportunity to have a conversation that talks about your product. A great company, a great man. Thank you for coming here today. Thank you for sharing. And any final words you'd like to say to the audience out there, just to let them know what's going on?
No, thank you, Chris. This has been an incredible experience. The team loves you. You've been a saint. The sales workshop that you put on a couple months ago was incredible. I remember how enthusiastic and how pumped up the team was after that experience. It was great. So I just, it's been incredible, and thank you. And
let's keep her going.
If you have a chance to check out what Chris does, incredible man. Come to the fort. Come to the
factory. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, totally.
Well, we built the factory and we built Real Sales Talk to share. I have been blessed to be successful in my life, and I'd like to help other people to become successful. You're doing the same. On behalf of myself, Will Richman from GrowthGenius, this is Real Sales Talk. We're glad to have been a part of your day today. We look forward to you being successful and growing your world this day forward. Carpe diem, my friends. Carpe diem.